good day, and welcome to another edition of Vantage Point. I'm your host, Svetlana Marshall. Today we'll be talking about crime, security, and politics. And in our studio, I have the Minister of Public Security, Mr. Khemraj Ramjattan. He's also the Prime Ministerial candidate for the APNU-AFC coalition. Mr. Ramjattan, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marshall, and it's a delight to be here. You know, there is nothing better for politicians in the campaign to be given publicity, and I must thank Vantage Point for allowing me to be here to also give my version in relation to what's happening in the security sector.
Okay, so we'll start off with politics. Elections is just about 20 days away. The APNU-AFC has been going around to various regions, reaching people, talking, sharing its plans. What's the feeling on the ground?
Look, it is the hype that I have never experienced in all my political career. I have seen some of the biggest crowds at our rallies, Georgetown, and the most recent one at Linden. And even in areas that I least expected support, and especially in strongholds of the PPP, when we used to, in 2015, get 25, 30 people turning up at our meetings, 180, 200, 300 people, and it is remarkable the confidence people all across the country having in this administration. I rather suppose that based on what the PPP has provided this time, especially foisting on us a fellow by the name of Irfan Ali, who I have now renamed Air Fraud Ali, period. Amidst, quite frankly, a number of challenges, one of which was trying to save sugar that took so much money out of our treasury. Normally, Marshall, you would have where sugar brings in money into the economy. Our first 3 years in government, from the very time we landed, we had to take money out of the treasury and put to the sugar sector to the tune of at least 10,000 sugar workers' jobs, as against the very counterfeit, fake kind of leadership that has been provided by Jack Deal.
About the right sizing of the sugar industry. From the time you took office in 2015 to 2020, what are some of the other projects and programs that government would have had to implement so as to address some of the issues that were facing the country when it took office in 2015?
Well, it had to ensure that that big decision be made, whereby you have to sever. The other big decision was that GAU wanted severance payments forthwith, and we had to find the monies. In other countries, like in Trinidad, when they did what they did, they took 3-4 years to pay the workers off. We had to find the money. We found 50% up front of that previous year, and then 50% down at the bottom end of it. We also started a huge training ground for another, for the retrenched, or what you call the workers that were now displaced. A number of them came on board. We also ensured that a number of them go and work in the merged estates, and a number of them are continuing working with, like say, IFLOC, because we closed down Wales. Wales and IFLOC have now been merged, with the IFLOC being the productive one. Wales have literally closed down, and most of the workers have now gone there. That was an important part. We started rice cultivation at Wales and a number of cash crops with the land that was now made available. That has happened, and a number of workers have been, in a sense, replaced there. That continues in the Berbice estate and the Skeldon estate, whereby we've asked that they come for training in a variety of vocations. Some of them don't want to come because they want to cut the cane, so they've gone to Albion and they do their work there, and that has been keeping them sustained. We feel that we want further training in other cash crops that are going to help in that regard, but also in the construction sector, weaning them away from cane cutting. It's very difficult work and back-breaking. but also into construction, so that they could be masons, they could be carpenters, joiners, furniture makers, and all of that. Some of them simply don't want to because they simply don't like it or whatever, but they prefer the cane cutting and so on. But that is as far as we have done. The president has also indicated that he is now going to open up some more lands with the monies that we will have from the oil and gas revenue for purposes of expanding Blackbush Polder and expanding the MMA Phase 1, Phase 2 and Phase 3. That will provide a lot of land for these persons who know farming, and all their life that is what they know. So we are going to ensure that that be the way that we go. In also the estates that are now operational, we want further mechanization, with just back-breaking cane cutting work and then putting it in the shoulder, putting it into the punts and all of that. Too hard work. And a lot of the next generation, the young people who are normally would have gone into cane cutting, they are not wanting to do that. And that is why we said that the industry doesn't have that future. A lot of monies came from the European Union since 2004 to enhance the sugar industry, to enhance its mechanization. Not a cent was spent by Bharat Jagdeo and the Donald Ramotar's administration. Over 110 million euros came. And when we got in the government, we then learnt about it. And not a cent was spent to rehabilitate Albion or rehabilitate Skeldon or to rehabilitate anyone. 10 million euros per year from 2004 to 2014, and not a cent was spent. And that is the way we feel that sugar workers were being abused. Immediately after that hard decision had to be made, remember, President Granger asked me to lead a committee to ask the opposition, GAU and NASI, what it is that we could have as suggestions from them. Of course, Jagdeo sent Irfan Ali, and Irfan said we must further bail it out. Well, we couldn't bail sugar out forever and perpetually. We had to make a halt because there are other workers in this country whose interest we have to look after. Their nurses, their teachers, their army people, policemen. So you just don't go and bail out, bail out, bail out. You have to bring a halt to it, especially in the context of what is happening with sugar markets and also sugar prices in the international markets. Okay. So it is important that we did the correct things in relation to sugar.
Now, Charandas Prasad, in siding with the opposition in 2018, he would have said that he did it for the sugar workers. Is it that he was ignorant to the vision and the plans of the government, or he was simply being malicious?
He was being deceptive. He knew and made speeches about how the sugar industry was going bankrupt whilst in the PPP. He made some lovely speeches whilst he was with us before he said yes, yes, yes. And also in Berbice on a television program that he would come on me on Dave's television on Saturday nights. So it is a somersault, a complete volte-face that he did in relation to what he did. And it is literally, in my opinion, to vindicate himself and to feel that he was not a Judas. But quite frankly, doing what he did, and that somersault, is obviously just to deceive people to making him look good, as if indeed it is we who were at fault. It was not we who were at fault. The minute we landed in government, that fella that used to run Gaisuko, Raj Singh, being paid 18,000 US dollars per month, which comes up a couple of $1 million. He told us that sugar is bankrupt. And then we knocked him off. We had to then do what we did. So Charandas was well aware of all of that. Charandas was also well aware about how GAU was not representing the workers. He is a lawyer in Berbice. I used to plead with him. Please take on some of these sugar workers' cases because their NIS contributions not being paid, their benefits not being given, because contributions were not paid, although the money were coming out from their wages and all of that. So he knew how bad it was. He was one that did a complete cost down of people like Raj Singh and so on, who were the Gaitsuko heads then. So all of this wickedness that he did, well, you know, he wants just to vindicate himself by doing that.
Okay, so you spoke about Irfan Ali and the PPP. You talk about AP and UARC being on the ground, raking in a lot of support. Irfan Ali, and the PPP, do you think they have what it takes right now? Are they losing votes because of Ir Finale? Because I know when he was selected as the prime minister, the presidential candidate for the PPP supporters, some of them would have condemned the move and would have requested.
Oh, it is a move that had to be condemned. Mm-hmm. The one thing that you do when you're at national elections is to ensure that your entire party will get the support of whosoever the candidates, especially the number one and number two candidates that you will have. Irfan Ali was not selected to begin with by what is called the Congress of the PPP. Like I had to go to my AFC national conference, and there you got massive support. And in the PNC, the same thing happened with David Granger. He was endorsed by his entire membership, as it were. In this case, it was Bharat Jagdeo who literally anointed and appointed this fellow. And it is today now being brought out that it was only about 12 out of that 15 or so persons, or 20 persons in the, what do you call it, the secretariat that supported that decision. Decision will fall flat in the face, on their faces now, because of the fact that we have now found that he really is not qualified as he is purporting to be. He doesn't have a first degree. The degree comes from some university of IFLOT called the West Demerara Institute or Chamber Institute or something like that. And he has not denied that, neither has he in any way sued anybody for stating that they're lying on him, because we now know it is indeed a fact. Now you can have masters, you can have PhDs, but all collapses if you did not have the first degree, because you would have lied to those institutions. We believe it was a massive piece of deception. He lied to all the other members too of his own leadership into thinking that he got his education. The fella hardly writes. You don't see him writing an article in the newspaper. You don't see him writing any justifications for positions taken or conceptualizing policies. And that fella now, I could now understand that it was all a farce and a counterfeit. And that is why we are also telling people that this is wrong. Jagdeo additionally promoted him as against other players who had bases and also who had genuine education. You know, Vindi Prasad, and then you get Frank Anthony, medical doctors, very experienced politically and all of that. And then, look, when people like I went to Lenora last night are saying they could not understand why Bharat still put him on when he had 19 fraud charges too, apart from the fact now that we have found out he was a fraud in relation to his education. So it was complete mismanagement by a person who is a total dictator in that party. Remember what he did to Asghar Ali? When he was junior finance minister, he undermined Asghar Ali to the extent that the man had to go. Made false allegation that the man appointed his son as World Bank representative when he was not qualified. The fellow was qualified more than him. And he made life so difficult for Asghar Ali, a Canal Polder resident who came back from Jamaica as deputy governor of the Jamaican Bank, Bank of Jamaica, and made life difficult for him. I remember that fella. We were sitting in the Central Committee room before I got expelled. And Janet Jagan, who made him president literally, appointed him as her prime ministerial candidate and made him, then she left. And that fella, so ungrateful, went on to say on an issue that she was questioning him about, "You are a private citizen. Shut up. You do not know any economics." And the lady cried and walked down Freedom House and never again was to go to any meetings there. That's the ingratitude of this guy. This is the guy that expelled me, and up to now I don't even know the charge by the PPP members. He kicked out Moses Nagamutu. He kicked out Ralph Ramkaran. Today now got to be looking for a party and make Anug his own party. So we have a fella there that has now done the decimation. Because remember, Marshall, The PPP under the Jagons is a totally different entity now under Jagdeo. And that is why I think the hype is all over the country that yes, AP and UAFC must be given a chance, not that PPP. They have to do some changes there before we go back and vote for them.
Okay, let's talk about the manifesto for the AP and UAFC coalition. We have not seen a manifesto to date. How soon could we see the release of that critical document?
Well, you know, a manifesto will have our general plans and policies and programs that we will implement. That ought to come out in a couple of days' time, by the end of this week or the beginning of next week. Generally, they come out a couple of weeks before, and we will be doing exactly that. It has more or less incorporated into it what the president has been talking about, the decade of development. The decade of development, we feel that this country requires lots more money is being spent on education, health, infrastructural works, and security. And those are the areas that will be emphasized. IT and digitization of our services, whereby we will have almost everything being governed by e-governance methods. That is an important development. We want to have more agricultural lands available. That's a part of the infrastructural work. And so it is important that all of these things be tied up into that decade of development. That will be a big part of the manifesto promises.
Okay, before we go more into the decade of development, I want to take you back to the PPP. Of recent, we would have seen a lot of reports of them alleging that should the AP and UAFC win the elections come March 2, that it may be as a result of rigging. How do you respond to that?
That is absolute nonsense. Elections, after all the regulations and legal changes we made since 1992, are beyond, in my opinion, rigging. You'd have the scrutineers for the various parties at the polling station. We would have scrutinized the list of voters. We have the machinery in the form of an independent GCOM, and that is why it took such a long process to get the chairman. You can't go and tell GCOM's chairman what to do. President Granger, nor Ramjattan, nor Moses Nagamutu can't do that. Neither can that be done by Barajagde or Irfan Ali. And all the administrative staff, they are totally, completely independent. International scrutineers are now coming in the form of OAS, European Union, Carter Center, and so many others. Barajagde knows that he's going to lose the elections badly. And he wants to create the conditions for giving meat to his base. That is, to say that, I tell y'all, they rigged the elections, that is why they win. Remember, he said how we rigged the elections in 2015 when we were in opposition. Himself and Donald Ramotar. They were saying that how Steve Surajbali rigged the elections on our behalf. And they started attacking Steve Surajbali. We were in opposition. We have done everything to ensure that these elections will be free and fair and free from fear. I know that they got certain PPP men and women out there who are trying to do provocatory acts and who are doing provocatory acts to probably blow the situation. But we have been talking to our supporters, walk away. We have been even talking to the policemen and said, please do not provoke a situation at all, and try as best as possible to keep law and order in place. And that is being done. So this is just a setup for the allegations, all which will be fraudulent, that we rig elections to win. And we are not going to do that. The Alliance for Change as a political party is not going to do that. I know that the APNO also, as a collective, will not do that. And I know for a fact that President Granger is not going to allow that. And we are on a hype, we are on a momentum, and that momentum will going to make us win by 4 or 5 seats this time around.
Why would you say your finale? And I know you would have reasoned and offered some explanation, but in a synopsis, why is your finale, in your view, bad for Guyana? And I know that Mr. Barajagdeo, he's not entitled to a third term, so he would have had your finale placed there.
Well, that is why he's putting.
But he's being seen as the man behind your.
Oh yeah, he's a puppet, and the puppet master is Jagdeo. Jagdeo couldn't get his third term, although he arranged Mr. Richardson to do the litigation, and you had the High Court in Ian Chang and then the Court of Appeal agreeing with that argument that he could run a third term. But thank God there was a CCJ which said that 2 terms and no more. But Jagdeo felt that he could do a bypass against that legal ruling and a bypass against the Constitutional Convention, which says that you must go along your way. Remember, in America, 2 terms, just like in Guyana. Barack Obama came and did his thing. After the 2 terms, he gone off the scene. Bill Clinton had done the same thing. George Bush had done the same thing. And they went off. But it is this puppet master that wants to control, and especially the oil monies. And I believe that he's using Irfan Ali. And he didn't do a proper checkout, simply because he felt that people like Anil Nandalal will probably tell him what he had told Janet Jagan. You are now a private citizen, just hold on, I am in charge. He does not want anybody but himself in charge. When myself and people like Ralph Ramkaran and Moses Nagamutu questioned him, you see what the penalties were. Out you go, expulsion or being shelved or being just removed. And that is what I think he is doing in relation to this fella. But this fella, he got 15 fraud charges against him, and it's not we who bring the fraud charges. This is an independent body called the Director of Public Prosecutions, and independent police officers that investigated the findings of a forensic audit that was done. So we had a forensic audit saying that there is lots of illegality here. The police then doing their investigation, and the DPP. Okay? And then we know the fellow, when he was housing minister, one of the most arrogant human beings you could ever find anywhere in a cabinet. Very arrogant, the way he treated people that asked him for house lots and all that. And of course, we know how he behaved 2.5 years into ministerialship, and he could arrange to buy a house with a pool side and all of those things that is valued about $400 million. Where did he get that kind of money from? Look, we believe that that kind of thing is going to do damage, because what will people want as ordinary voters? They want credible leadership, not arrogant and feral leadership who just do blasting of people like the American ambassadors or other people and so on. And I think they will pay the price for it this time around.
Going back to the plans of the coalition going forward, should the coalition be re-elected come March 2, you as the Prime Minister, I'm thinking that you'll probably be responsible for constitutional reform. What are some of the areas within the Constitution that you believe at this point in time needs to be reformed, needs to be amended?
Well, we have gotten a lot of recommendations from the Carter Center. A number of the previous observers that came, they had left a number of recommendations. We have seen also the Nigel Hughes document, where Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu had asked Nigel Hughes to do a document as to the process forward and areas in which we should have enhancing human rights, expanding human rights, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, right to due process and all of that, the powers of the presidency, electoral arrangements, whether we should go back to a more first past the post system or keep the PR system in place. These are the areas in and around which there have been big talk for constitutional reform. But the big talk has come from very few voices, as it were. The constitutional reform must be supported by political parties, and then some changes have to be done by referendum. You have to take it back to the people, argue the case, as you know, so that the people will buy in to these changes. And so these are the areas around which, of course, If I am in charge of constitutional reform as Prime Minister, I certainly will then go back to the people and ask. Because in designing a constitution, you have to have the support of the people out there. In certain amendments, you got to get, I think, 2/3 majority in Parliament plus a referendum. Some you can have a simple majority, some you must get a referendum alone, and so on. So it depends on what provisions are given to the people for them to make their alterations to, and so on. It is a process that will have to be led and led properly so that the consultative process shines through. You don't want people to say, well, this is a secret thing Ramjattan doing and all that nonsense. And it will have to have a big committee at the parliamentary level that will ensure that it happens. There will be certain things that are being spouted now. When it is explained to members of the public out there, they might very well not be enthralled by it. And they're going to say, well, no, don't change that thing. You're all talking about change. We don't want it to be changed. And when a referendum is called for it, they don't turn up and so on. So all of these have to be looked into. Plus, we have to go look for best international practices or international best practices. And that will necessitate experts on designing a constitution coming to Guyana to help us in the process. So, yes, I believe we have to strengthen governance. I believe that our constitution must tell the political leadership and the political class, you misbehave, you do not do things with proper scrutiny, you go and get corrupt, you must be jailed. And I believe that, I don't know how we could put that into a constitution, but we must have some measure there that will tell the political class that behave yourself. Lead the examined life. As a famous, I think, philosopher of years gone said, so that when people come to you and ask you for your first degree, you must say, well, here it is. I have a Bachelor of Laws degree from the University of West Indies, and you can go check that out. Don't go and fabricate and then use that as the basis to getting all these other things. There's no foundation for it. If it's a foundation, it's a foundation of fraud and fake. So that is what is important. And then when we go into government, we must learn to make declarations and so on as to the property we got. So when you're coming off after the 5 year, we will know how much more you got, if you got any more, rather than just your salaries. I believe in that kind of examined life that we must adhere to. And whatever best practices are there to ensure that corruption in government will become negligible or totally nil, I would like to see as part of that process of constitution making.
Now let me turn your attention to the petroleum sector. This is a sector that is new to Guyana. It brings new hope. However, in a recent report, we saw that Global Witness would have said that, Guyana stand to lose a lot. On the other hand, we have Rystad Energy would have indicated that with the 2%, with the 2% of royalty and the 50% that Guyana would get profit, the country could benefit significantly. How do you see Guyanese benefiting from the proceeds?
I am a liberal. And that is one of the reasons that I had big problems with the PPP. My attitude is that indeed voices should be allowed to make criticisms, but voices must be responsible in their criticism. I have gone through this document called Signed Away by Global Witness. And I must say, as one who got some brains and stupidity, that was a pathetic piece of propaganda that came at a time midway into a campaign to make us look bad. And that is not a professional NGO when it will then put that in the laps of the electorate and the press and everybody else in the middle of a campaign. It had bad motivations about it, quite frankly. Look, when we signed on that agreement, after hearing that there are giant deposits of oil and gas out there in our economic zone, we had to make a decision, because at the same time we were having some bad news about how sugar needs so much money. We also know that Guyanese have never gotten a real good deal in relation to better salaries, better electricity, but so many things. And here it is. The minute we announced that we got the oil, Mr. Maduro from Venezuela gone and draw a boundary that says all that oil belongs to him. Remember that? Yeah. That security, that geopolitical concern of ours was very important in my mind as security minister too. We had to have a company that was also going to be fair to us and give us, and we also argue the case for the grant of the 2% and the 50% profit share on oil. And we understand that that was an extremely good international best practice for a first-time oil finder. We also knew, and another consideration, at least it went through my mind when it came to cabinet, when you're making the decision as to how you're going to now accept this thing, it went through my mind, because I do some reading, that a lot of people in America and India and China now doing renewable energies. This fellow named Elon Musk had just invented this Tesla car that you put in a battery inside and the car could go 300, 400 miles. If they could now bring down the cost of cars to the gasoline type cars, all that oil found out there would matter nothing, because they're going to go renewable. The whole world is going renewable. We had to make a decision then, as early as possible, to get whatever the benefits you can get from that. So the thing measured up international best practice, 2% royalty plus 50% profit share. We were having a company that is American, and nobody will touch American assets out there like they did with Anadarko. And then we also had the projection that renewables can very well be found by brilliant entrepreneurs like Elon Musk that could very well make fossil fuel a thing of the past. What do? We now also had, you got to ensure that teachers can get better salary under this administration or by 2020. And the people indicated that they can do it in 5 years. And they've done it. They gone immediately after we signed on and got floating these FTSOs to bring up the oil and to put it on, and we have now gotten our first 1 million barrel in 5 years. It takes generally 9 years. And so we are dealing here with Exxon and Hess. They are price makers in the sector. They are not price takers, but that I mean that they know how to do the thing, and they can, in a sense, influence pricing. Like we produce sugar, but we are price takers. Whatever the international market tell we have to take. Exxon and Hess and Sinuk and so on, they are big players in an industry. And they being price takers, also it went through my mind, we should sign this deal and get on with the business. And you know, indecision and procrastination are the hallmarks of failures. You have, like a good empire, when the decision is there, you got to put your finger up or set it down. We had to do that. You just don't go delay. All right, well, I want 5% more royalty. I want this, I want that. As the other report, the English expert on law, Clyde, indicated, we tried as best as possible, our negotiators, to get more. But the people were not interested in giving us more. And if 2% and 50%, which gives us a government take that is 60% in the 40-year period, whereby, based on the calculations, we are going to get in the vicinity of 160 billion US dollars. 160 and plus billion dollars. Why now make an issue that, hey, but had you done something and, you know, negotiate this and that and whatever, you'd have got a $55 billion more. How they could say that? But you know, we Guyanese are lovers of self-flagellation. We beat ourselves up. The other day I sell a car for I was asking for $1.5 million. And I ain't getting nobody to buy the car. The minute I sell it for $1 million, 10 body come and say, Bana, I would have give you $2 million, but why you didn't tell me? We always do that crap and allow ourselves to be, you know, disinformed by that kind of attitude. And it is craziness. So don't bother with those. The World Bank did an assessment. The IMF did an assessment. Rystad did an assessment. All these, Bloomberg, all of these, and they've said, even the Forbes report talking about the Global Witness report denounced it. And I could understand that. Everybody, right thinking and sensible, must denounce the Global Witness report and the report from the other Rams and them. Because they're ill-advised, they're ill-informed as to the circumstances that caused us to go into that arrangement. You had so many other variables that were in our minds. And we were just elected, brand new elected. We have to be the decision maker. Well, if the PPP was there, I am certain that they would have gone back to 1% royalty and 50% because that is what they had signed on to since 1999. And it is hardly likely that they would have gotten another 1%. We fought hard and we got, that is 100% increase of royalties. But not only that, we got withholding taxes because they didn't want that to be paid. We got a $18 million US signature bonus. We got 1,500 people working already in 2020. They probably will be knocking around if you go along with some of the other naysayers and doomsayers, and we probably would not have gotten an agreement at all. Exxon might very well say, well, we're just holding. And that is the kind of things that you'd have. But we did, as I said, the decisive thing. We did not procrastinate. And we are today the beneficiaries of, at least this year, $300 million. And by 2025, it will run into the billions of dollars. Monies earned now is far better than monies that a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, isn't it? And so that is why we did what we did. And we did it genuinely on economic prognosis, diagnostics and all of that. And we are here where we are. Everybody could think that, yes, if they were dealing, they would have got a better deal. But that is not true. And we did it very legitimately and legally. A lot of people now cussing down my friend Raphael Trotman and co-leader of the AFC. That is totally outrageous. We did what we had to do and did it in accordance with our consciences, and that is where we must now proceed. Monies right now can do all the things that we want, or at least make a start. Our infrastructure can be better because $300 million is more than what rice, sugar, and bauxite producing now. And people out there want better salaries. People want lighting for their communities. Where do you think you can get the money from? That negotiating with Exxon all the time, and that can take years, and then wait till 9 years after. The people got it 5 years, and we are here. So it is important to understand it in that context.
What, Guyana now being an oil-producing nation, and I know you said you spoke to better salaries and so forth, but overall, what it means to the man in the street, the people within the community, how they stand to benefit from what Guyana is now experiencing?
Well, obviously, when you have better health facilities, better teachers and better schools, better policemen and better salaries for them, and better comfortable quarters in brand new police stations and assets in the form of the cars that you would see on the screen from Hollywood and so on, where they come immediately and things like that. That is what they will get. The entire country will be lifted as a result of all the infrastructural works and also the human resource development. Education, we want now to bring back free education back at a tertiary level. We need more skilled people, and we intend that every region to have a technical institute or a school that will teach vocation professions there. That is what we're talking about. That is where we feel the people of the country will benefit. As to whether a direct transfer to them should be done, we have given a lot of thought on that. And I think we are coming down to the position whereby it will be a conditional kind of grant. You send your kids, you're a poor single parent, you're sending your kids to school, and we're going to get a scrutiny system to ensure that you then get a couple dollars to ensure that the kid go to school and get proper you know, nutrition and all of that. It is a system that is the kind of system we want. We just want to dole it out, give you $100,000 every month and so on. No, better infrastructure. You then also utilize the education that we will provide to enhance your capacities. And with enhanced capacities, we will have probably the greatest country in the Americas with all that money coming our way. And that is what we're talking about. Recreational facilities for our young people, better grounds, better pavilions, better community centers. That is what we're talking about. Tools for them to trade in. If it is a manicurist, whatever the tools for that, or hairdressing, whatever, providing them. Tomorrow I will be doing a program at the Police Training Center whereby we have trained so many in entrepreneurs, at-risk youth who would normally have gone into crime. As we have made the assessments through community officers, they have been given an opportunity to go train themselves, and they have now become little entrepreneurs. Not big yet, super SADs and so on yet, but they are there learning, and a class will be graduating tomorrow. And that is what we are talking about. And as they develop, they can do so many other things. A lot of people cuss us down for planting chips. But do you know what that kind of entrepreneurship will provide? It will provide at least a profit for the entrepreneur and some employment. And also the cultivators of planting wheresoever, Wakanam, Leguan, wheresoever. And that is what we are talking about. But some people don't understand. I was laughed, let me tell you something. When I talk about using dogs and horses for help the police force. But every country in the world got a mounted branch and a canine section. We bring down the sniffer dogs. You know how much ammunition and so on we find underneath bannets and so on because of the sniffer dogs? But they were laughing the very first time I raised it in Parliament that we are going to pour so much more millions into these two areas. Clement was laughing at me. Today it's paying off, and that is why we have had reduced crime rates in this country.
Okay, and now that we've moved to crime and security, share those rates. When you would have done your analysis of what crime was up, say, in 2011 or 2015, prior to 2015, and what it is now, for our viewers and the people listening, what is the situation right now?
It is a massive decline in crime rates, serious crime rates, homicide rates, and all of that. Brothers and sisters, you know what we used to have for homicides in this country in the early 2000s. And it was murder rates aplenty. And it had to do with gangs that were in charge of the narco trade and a number of other things. And it was especially under the Jagdeo presidency. And I think the Gadraj's ministerialship. We even had commissions of inquiry and all of that. What we have done is to professionalize that police force. We have called in the Canadians to bring the Justice Education Society here, to train them. And they've been doing that for a while. We have been sending policemen on scholarships overseas to get training. We brought in what the PPP never wanted to bring in. The fellow from Scotland Yard, Russell Combe, and so on, to come to Guyana, to do and live with the society, you know. For 18 months he was here, knowing the nuances of our society, of the police force and all of that. Because I just didn't want somebody to write up the recommendations and send it down. I wanted people to buy in. And that is why he came and he lived here for 18 months and did a real good British security sector reform document for the president. We have to now implement that because it requires a lot of money. And that is another reason why it is a good thing we signed that deal in 2016. We got to get more maritime vessels. We got to get more vehicles on the road. All of that to enhance. So when people call 911, which is today working as a result of this government. So that's another accomplishment. We have now gotten, I think we bought the equipment through Digicel or somebody there, that we now have a 911 that is working. What is not working is the reaction time to then go to the scene, but that requires assets, as I said, which we are now going to get. Even in the riverine areas, you have to have faster boats with powerful engines that will last and so on. And that is what we are now doing as part of the British security sector reform. We also have to have policemen that will have a better strategic unit so that they could know by virtue of the statistics coming in that here is a hot spot. We must send some more patrols there. Who are causing the hot spots to be so clustered? Oh, they got this by here, they got big head, they got little head, they got medium-sized head, causing all of this problem there. So we send in to meet them. Piracy in the Quarantine River area, hot spot for piracy. What do we do? And so on. So the strategic unit is being developed with lots more intelligent people. Last year, we got 24 graduates with genuine degree, not Irfan Ali type of degree, graduating from the University of Ghana that are in the cadet officer, that are in the officer corps right now. And we got master's degree for the commissioner, and I think Maxine and so on. That is what we want, more academically qualified persons in the police force. Because when you get that, you get an intelligence-led police force. And at the strategic management unit, working out all of these strategies for what new developed crimes happening, transborder crime, if it is trafficking in humans, all of that. A very smart leadership in the police force to enhance the tackling of those types of crime. All of that we've been doing. We have also done a thing that people laugh at me, amnesty for bringing in the guns. So many guns came in. That helped. The curfew, get back to your home by 2 o'clock. What's wrong? You want to drink till 4 o'clock in the morning? Then you're going to make accidents. Because you drink up so much, you now go on and drive your vehicle, badam, you knock down somebody. And that is what I've been doing. But a lot of these people, even the PPP now say, they will bring back the curfew time from 2 o'clock and bring it forward to 4 o'clock in the morning. What is that telling us? Continue drinking. And we have seen spikes every Friday night, morning, and Saturday morning with domestic violence. And when the police have given me the results of what caused this, the man drunk, and the wife asked him a couple of questions when he come in drunk Friday night, and he beat up the lady. That is why the domestic violence rates get up. So you have to do these things, notwithstanding the unpopularity. And that is decisive leadership. And that is what I've been providing there. And that is why I have published a security reform newspaper, and at the back has all the statistics. And when you check on the graph, it is coming down. Homicide rates, it was almost 20 per 100,000 during the Barjagdeo administration. It has come down now to 14.19. We used to have 200-300 murders a year. Now it is back to a rate that is like about 130, 140, whatever. I can't recall last year the actual statistic, but it is just above 100. And a number of these homicides in Guyana now are not as a result of robberies and so on. We have those, and they're all too many. We got to cut it down to zero. But a lot of these homicides are as a result of domestic violence. Man drinking with his partner, and then he and his partner get an argument. At an interpersonal level, our violence, our violent attitudes to each other is very heavy. He take a bottle and he push him in his friend's belly, man dead, that kind of thing. Come home, he suspect his wife, he gonna chop out the girl neck and all that. So we have a lot more to do at the level of schooling. We want the pandits and the masjid leaders, the mosques and so on. We want the Christian community to also help in talking about this thing called anger management. You know, and we must live that kind of life too. When we're talking in front of young children especially, we don't be harsh with them. Guyanese, they be cussing up each other, and the little picnic that next to them. What do you expect the picnic to do when she got big or he got big? So that is the kind of thing that we'll have to do. It is not only a law enforcement thing. It is also something to do with how we cultivate and the culture our next generation. And I believe that we are doing the correct things. Oh yes, you're going to have to build some more new prisons and so on, because those derelict things that we have are of a Victorian age, and all of them are wood. That is why you get it burned down twice. We are now trying to make some really excellent quality so that they will be enduring. In Mazaruni, we have started doing that. We have to make more comfortable our policemen, their working conditions. That is why at Parfait Harmony, at Linden, at Aurora, at Lethem, we have to make beautiful police stations that will be equipped with what I was telling you about e-governance. So immediately you got a suspect into the computer. Was he a fellow with a previous conviction? And you just knock in the name. Khemraj Ramjattan, yes. Well, whatever. No, he's clean. Irfan Ali, oh yes, he was unclean. So that kind of thing. That is what we're talking about. And it is important that we know that. Even to the DNA lab, that is something. Clement Rohim talked the other day, what will Ramjattan do? I said, and then when you tell him that you bring up DNA lab, he said, but, what days were you out? I said, boss, you got 23 years in there. Why didn't you build a lab? Everything now that we have done, and you are, denigrating. But let me tell you something. They also are telling their people that we ain't do nothing. This is what they should be doing. This is what Ramjattan should be doing. This is what... Why, when you were in there for 23 years, you didn't do those things? And that is biting in, because as I make that argument, especially a number of the most right-thinking Indo-Guyanese brethren and sisters, they're saying it's true. What make them been do for? Why them been do What do I want Ramjattan for do for now? They had 23 years there. At least the man could say, get 911, the man get better police station, the man get a DNA lab, the man giving police more training. Why they didn't do it? Why they didn't take the Drug Enforcement Agency and bring it in Guyana? Because they want to deal with Raja Khan and all kind of heads. We brought in the Drug Enforcement Agency. We brought in the British security sector reform by virtue of all these recommendations, and we are now going to implement the recommendations. So it is a massive set of things that were done. And public relations-wise, I think we probably did not do it 100% for people to know. But in this campaign period, I am glad that you're giving me the opportunity for these things to be known.
I'm assuming that to implement these projects and programs would have amounted to billions of dollars.
Oh, billions of dollars.
What's the investment like?
Yeah. I don't know is how much billions I got this year, last year. About $30 billion for the security sector. It's a lot of money. And again, I'm getting a little old here. My memory fades. But
I think
you
it's
probably
about
13.9
billion, but
yeah.
Overall, I think it should be about more than $50 billion.
Oh yes, it's a lot of money we have spent in our year, because we feel that enjoying the good life means enjoying the secured life. And of course, there have been crimes in Guyana, but where you do the correct is that you make the count of what used to happen as against what it is now. But when you get front page spread, another murder has been committed, you get the impression that indeed crime has not been reducing. That is the same thing that happened with Giuliani when he was New York mayor. In that time period, there are studies done that he was bringing down the crime rate, but nobody was believing it. When a reporter comes, the reporter, is what give that kind of things happen to your head. The cognition level, oh yeah, because it's another bad incident. And these reporters do not report the good things that are happening. You don't get a reporter saying, I am reporting from an area that there is no crime. The reporter will say, I am reporting that there's a murder here, and then look. And in this day of smartphones, everybody now is a journalist. The minute they see a crime, bam, they put it on and it's on Facebook and so on. And that also do some damages to, the situation, the real situation. And then the reality of the situation then comes into question. And then Ramjattan, all them statistics is by Nami and Siendo. My neighbor got robbed the other day and so on. And it does affect it, but the actual truth is that it's come down. And the professionalization and modernization of the police force have been paying off. Of course, we have a forward way to go still, but we are there. And we want people to appreciate that journey having commenced you must not stop the progress.
Okay, sir. With respect, I think maybe as a reporter myself, I would say probably make more information accessible. I know the police force would from time to time release that kind of stuff.
That's right.
So if you have that information flowing, steady press conferences. I know that the Commissioner of Police would have had some press conferences recently, but it's important to access information. But moving on, let's talk about, and you mentioned when you talk about the 2 a.m. curfew, accidents. Now, this remains a major problem in Guyana. And like you said, one is too many, right? How is the police force? What measures would have been put in place to really bring down these stats?
It is very difficult for law enforcement to bring those things down. There are a couple of things that they could do because, look, Ms. Marshall, it happens because of individual irresponsibility. You're going to drink and you want to drive. And then you want to drive fast on top. And drinking impairs your vision. Drinking impairs your judgment. Scientifically proven. And then you want to drive faster because you want to reach home quick. And badam, you knock down somebody. So that is what individual responsibility is called for drivers and the conductors of these minibuses and so on. And we have been, via the traffic department, have been trying to counsel and talk to drivers, have campaigns through the road safety network that we have, and things like that, the National Council there. But still, we have to have more roads. Our roads are congested. And what I have now learned from the literature is that when you go through this very congested part and you spend a whole half an hour there, the minute you get a little speedy part, you want to make up for that. And you drive far, far faster than you would normally drive. We have to have more roads in this country. Every year we bring in 10,000 vehicles, motor cars. And we don't like public transportation. Every one of us would like to have a car we're going home with, you know, and it is congested. But it comes back for the reduction generally, all across the world, of reckless driving, dangerous driving, causing death by dangerous driving. It is the individual responsibility of the driver. We have to put up more signage too. We have to put up more signs that say 80 kilometers per hour on these major highways and so on. But the minute you put it up, Guyanese again, gosh, they gone 180, like they see a 1 in front of the 80 and so on. And that is what causes the accident. The other thing is the importation too of a lot of second-hand cars from overseas. The brand new cars have better braking systems and more modern things and all facilities and so on. And these reconditioned cars and so on that comes in, I understand too that they sometimes can be defective to a certain extent. Tires, wheel system, braking system not working so that you could get the brakes down in time to avoid a collision. That also can help.
In tackling these issues, the government and in your ministry, in fact, in July 2019, would have launched a smart city surveillance system, a program. And how effective that program has been in helping you to tackle crime, see some of those drivers who would have maybe breached a traffic light?
Well, it has helped. Even before the smart city came on, we had a number of video cameras on major streets. And we caught hundreds and hundreds of people who breached the red light, who were driving too fast, and all of that. This smart city has enhanced that. But the smart city was for capturing them pickpockets in and around areas like Stabrook Square and so on. And also to be an eye on the city so that we can see movements of certain suspects, where they're coming through from and all of that. And it has been a big, big help. Remember, you can't go and bribe a camera. Remember, the camera got your face there, and we had gotten facial recognition. But of course, they got some doomsayers and noomsayers said that how it's breaching privacy. But I was not too keen on that argument. But I understand the telecommunications people will say, all right, we're going to take off the facial recognition aspect of it. But we, with the photographs, they're so clear, and it's from a very powerful, prominent company, Huawei, that these cameras we see very clearly in the command centers. That was an experiment to see how successful it will be. It is very successful. And we want to now carry it to New Amsterdam and areas where they're crime-ridden. We want to carry it to certain areas by the bridge to see where drivers are driving, and also where certain people that are on our suspect list, where they're traveling and all of that. It is an important tool in this toolkit of security measures to be taken. But the monies for these things is plenty. Them cameras dear like hell, girl, and to put them, and then the command center and so on, getting a staff there, watching on this big wall that got big cameras on it all the time. It is a lot of money. Monies, however, which we will now get as a result of signing that deal in 2016.
But the system is working for
Oh, it's very much working. And that is why,
yeah,
if it is working, of course it is working. I don't have to give you all the details. These are security issues. But it is helping and meeting the purpose for which it is there. We have catch a number of pickpockets. And the police buys them telling me, they say, nah, me ain't been there. And when they flick the screen and they say, who is there? Who is there? And look the man pocket, you please. And they're caught. They're going to plead guilty and so on. But I don't want young kids and so on again. You know, that's another problem. They're filling up your jail, you know, and the limited people that you got there. So, and then you got to find money to feed them. So there's a dilemma sometimes. And that is why I want at-risk young people to go for the entrepreneurial classes like we be having, where tomorrow you'll have a set of graduates. That is the kind of thing. And I want parents that don't allow their young kids to go do all this madness. We want the Christian and the Muslim and the Hindu community to talk to them. We have gotten very selfish, this modern generation. We don't care for the thing. We don't care for any other people picking up down there. So they could do all kind of thing by me, ain't got nothing to do with it. We got to be like a village again. Everybody else's business is our business, especially when it comes to young kids. And that is what we want to bring back. Community life.
The AFC would have also in the parliament and outside of the parliament spoken about, and government in general would have spoken about, the removal of custodial sentences for small quantities of marijuana. I know as a result to the motion that was placed before
the Carrington motion.
Yeah. What's is that position remain? Does it remain?
Oh no, it's a very strong position I hold. For a number of reasons, the motion and the bill just didn't get this, you know, to be laid as an item on the agenda. It is on the agenda, but kind of put back. That is one of the first things we must do in the next parliament. Get that amendment on our laws. It is an important amendment. It is also consistent with the new CARICOM legislative arrangement on drug possession for small quantities, and WHO too. So, and PAHO, these World Health Organizations and so on. And we certainly will make sure that that be one of the first amendments that we will pass in a new government after 2nd of March.
Okay. According to the U.S. State Department, Guyana has also made significant strides with tackling human trafficking. The country remains on tier 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that remain, and how the government intends to treat with them, and some of the success stories you possibly would want to share?
Well, one of the big challenges that remain is getting the big boys prosecuted successfully and convicted. Somehow the witnesses that are supposed to testify against them don't want to testify because they fear for their lives. And when you try to do the witness protection thing and so on, they don't want to be involved. We have to cut the profits out of human trafficking. That's where it is. So it's getting the big boys, charging them, and then getting convictions. And also going after their property. If you're convicted now, going after proceeds of crime. And if you got plenty property and this is what you were doing, well then obviously you're making the money out of trafficking in humans. You're making the money out of narcotics dealing and so on. And that is how we have to make our laws more consistent so that we can take away a property. You got to prove that you are earning that property. Earning money is to buy that property from legitimate sources. That is one of the challenges that we have right now. The other is to provide better facilities and halfway houses and so on for the victims to put up these buildings. They cost a lot of money, but we're trying. UNICEF is helping us out. Social cohesion is doing a fantastic job in some areas. And those are the two major challenges that I foresee in the future. But the other one, and it is continuing apace, is enhancing the capacities of the task force members and the unit in the police force and social cohesion to catch these criminals, but also to take care of the victims. And we are doing a wonderful job, and the State Department report and the Trafficking in Humans and so on report are proving that indeed we have done major developments as against prior to 2015. In 2015 we started the process. 2016 we got tier 1. We got the tier 1 status very early in our administration, because you had to put a handle in it, and we did that. But you're going to ask people about them things that, what Ramjattan do? And they would never refer to those things that you do, because this is how the negative politics play out, especially within the opposition and so on. So I am glad that I've gotten this opportunity, Marshall, Ms. Marshall, to bring all of these things out. And it is an important aspect of the argument why we should be there and why one term deserves another. These are the achievements that we have. This is the credible, competent leadership that we have provided. And in all honesty, if you have a conscience, we deserve a second chance. One good term deserves another. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister Ramjattan. And do join us tomorrow for another edition of Vantage Point. I've been your host, Svetlana Marshall. Goodbye for now.
The voting process. Once you have been identified as the elector you claim to be, you will be given a ballot paper that is stamped at the back, top and bottom halves in your presence. On the ballot paper, provision is made for you to vote twice. Once at the top section where you vote for the party of your choice in the general election, and once at the bottom section where you vote for the party of your choice in the regional election. Make your mark in the box provided on the right of your choice. After you have voted, fold the ballot paper as shown by the election official. Dip the first joint of your right index finger in the ink provided and place the ballot paper in the ballot box that is there for this purpose. You would then have to peacefully depart the polling station. For more information, contact GCOM on 225-027729, 223-9653, email pro@gcom.org.gy, or visit GCOM's website at www.gcom.org.gy.
There is no better way to start your day than with a good breakfast. Temi's breakfast cereals are fortified with vitamins and minerals to deliver an enjoyable meal for both adults and kids. Available in various unique and delicious flavors to suit different needs, be it fruity, chocolatey, or all kinds of yummy. Haven't got time? Don't worry. The NutriFit range of cereal bars provides a balanced diet of vital fibers, protein and carbohydrates, and can also be taken as snacks or sports bars.
Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Are you planning a trip for business or leisure and looking for the most direct and economic offers, but you're confused? And instead of heading to the internet and searching websites for best deals, you simply need to contact the travel professionals at Munishwar Travel Service, 45 Water Street, Georgetown. Their well-trained travel advisors with years of experience will assist you in booking your flights, accessing all airlines, hotels, car rentals at the most competitive prices to match your budget. Their customer service is second to none. Their qualified travel consultants will make you dream of seeing the world and ensuring your trip be the perfect one. A travel experience beyond your expectations. They'll give you the best value to save time and money. Provide 24-hour service to fix problems if things go wrong during your trip. Giving you options you haven't considered if you haven't decided where you want to go. Arrange group travel. Accepting all major credit cards, both local and overseas. Daily deals available, which are also available online. So call, visit or email them to have the experience of their immaculate service. Munishwar Travel Service, 45 Water Street, Georgetown, 592-227-6992 or 225-2947, or drop us an email, munishwartravel@yahoo.com.